Hello and welcome to your English news broadcast live on ERi-TV. It's exactly 10:30 p.m. on Eritrea's local Greenwich from our headquarters at Asmara with your domestic and international news in brief. I'm Zahra Badouri, but first we'll begin with your major headlines for this hour. An announcement from the Ministry of Health. Rehabilitated families of Meriteers improving their livelihoods, and more on your domestic. On your international, no resolution on S-400 dispute during Biden-Erdogan meeting. Israel launches airstrikes on Gaza for second time since ceasefire, and policemen kill 80 students abducted in Nigeria. Welcome to your domestic in brief. 91 patients have been diagnosed positive for COVID-19 in tests carried out today at quarantine centers in central and southern and northern Red Sea region, as your health report. Out of these, 72 patients are from quarantine centers in Asmara Central Region, 14 patients are from quarantine centers in Mandafara 6, Adghayh 5, and Kamhara 3, Southern Region. The last 5 patients are from quarantine centers in Naqfa 2, Gindawan, Afabat 1, and Masawa 1, Northern Red Sea Region. On the other hand, 89 patients who have been receiving medical treatment in hospitals in the central 39 people, and northern Red Sea 33 people, southern Red Sea 10 people, and Ansaba 7 people in the regions have recovered fully and have been discharged from these facilities. The total numbers of recovered patients to date has accordingly risen to 4,743, while the number of deaths still stands at 19. The total number of confirmed cases in the country to date has increased to 5,285. Ministry of Health, Asmara, 18th June 2021. Mr. Tesfazgi Albazgi, Managing Director in Tesane Subzone, indicated that the rehabilitated families of Meriteers and war disabled veterans are improving their livelihoods. Mr. Tesfazgi said that over the past 10 years, business owners in the subzone contributed over 10.6 million nakfa, and that financial and material support worth 7 million nakfa has been extended to 673 families of Meriteers, and residential houses worth 3.7 million nakfa have been constructed for 4 war-disabled veterans. Mr. Tesfazgi went on to say that as part of the rehabilitation program, the subzone provided houses for small businesses for a number of families of Meriteers and land for cultivation for 100 families of Meriteers. Commending the initiative taken by the owners of businesses and the public in supporting families of Meriteers and war-disabled veterans, Mr. Saleh Osman and Mrs. Ma'aza Mahari, members of the Rehabilitation Committee, called for reinforced contribution. Mr. Muhammad Noor Ali Sayyid, head of the National Association of Eritrean War Disabled Veterans, on his part said that the support nationals inside the country and abroad are extending attests to the respect and honor the Eritrean people have towards their Meriteers. Mr. Jabra Idris, head of the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare in Ginda subzone, reported that over 63 million nakfa have been dispersed to families of Meriteers within the subzone. Mr. Jabra went on to say that on top of the monthly payment by the government to families of Meriteers, a number of institutions in the subzone and area administrations and government employees have assumed the responsibility to support 22 families of Meriteers since 2019, and so far they have contributed over 200,000 nakfa. In related news, government employees in Mogolo subzone extended financial support to 12 families of Meriteers in connection with 20th June Meriteers Day. The administrator of the subzone, Mr. Abraham Kidan, commanding the initiative by the civil servant to support families of Meriteers, called on others to follow the noble example. And on your final domestic, potable water project in Adibara, worth over 2 million nakfa, has been inaugurated on 15th of this June. According to Mr. Girmay Takhlab, head of the water resources in the central region, the project that is working with solar power includes a reservoir holding 250 barrels of water, 4 water distribution centers, as well as 3,450 meters of pipelines. Congratulating the residents of Adibara for becoming beneficiaries of potable water supply, Mr. Msgina Gabrasilase, head of the development and water supply, called for judicious use of the project for its sustainability, indicating that they were compelled to travel 3 kilometers to fetch water. The beneficiary women of Adibara said that with the project put on place, they will be able to spend their time on other development activities that could improve their livelihoods further. At the event, a certificate of recognition was handed over to villagers and stakeholders that contributed to the project. Adibara is located 23 kilometers south of Asmara. Up next with your international news, do stay with us for more. And on your global report, Turkey will take lead in securing Kabul airport after U.S. troops depart, Biden and Erdogan agree. President Joe Biden and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan agreed when they met in Brussels this week that Turkey would take a lead role in securing the Kabul airport as the United States withdraw troops from Afghanistan, a U.S. official reported. But the two leaders were not able to resolve a long-standing dispute that has strained ties between Washington and Ankara about Turkey's purchase of the Russian-made S-400 surface-to-air missile system, the officials reported in general. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told reporters on Thursday that Biden and Erdogan, in their meeting on June 14th at the NATO summit, had discussed the Afghanistan airport security issue. Erdogan had asked for U.S. support to help secure the airport, and Biden committed to provide the support, Sullivan said, the Reuters news agency reported. Sullivan also said that the clear commitment for the leaders would establish that Turkey would play a leading role in securing Hamid Karzai International Airport, and they are now working through how to execute to get to that. Sullivan's remark offer the first detail from the U.S. said of that between Biden and Erdogan, who told the U.S. president Ankara will not change its stance on the Russian S-400 missile system. Ankara's purchase of the Russian anti-aircraft weaponry has interfered with U.S. plans to sell Turkey the advanced F-35 combat fighter jets. Washington has removed Ankara from the F-35 fighter jet program and imposed sanctions. Erdogan told reporters on a return flight from Azerbaijan on Thursday that he told Biden specifically that they should not expect Turkey to take a different step on the F-35 and S-400 issues because they didn't want that they had for the F-35s and gave the necessary money. He also said that they must monitor development closely and they will be able to follow up all their rights. Turkey and the U.S. have been at odds over a host of other issues, including policy differences in Syria and Eastern Mediterranean. Israeli jets launched airstrike on Gaza overnight, Thursday to Friday, after militants in the Palestinian territory set off incendiary balloons into southern Israel, the Army and the AFP journalists reported. The fire balloons and airstrikes are the latest violence heaping pressure on a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Gaza Hamas rulers that came into place on May 21st, ending 11 days of heavy fighting. Israel's military said in a statement that over the past days, our arson balloons were launched from the Gaza Strip into Israeli territory. In response, fighter jets struck military compounds and a rocket launch site belonging to the Hamas terrorist organization. AFP journalists in the Palestinian enclave also reported hearing explosions, which the army said hit set in both Gaza City and Khan Yunis in the south of Gaza, home to some 2 million people. Soon after the strikes, Hamas militants opened fire with heavy machine guns towards the Jewish state as Israeli warning air raids sirene rang out. Palestinian militants in Gaza launched balloons for a third day turning on Thursday, according to Israeli firefighters, battling the blazes sparked by the devices. The balloons are basic devices intended to set fire to farmland and bush surrounding Gaza. On your final report, the attack on federal government college in Kabai State and the third assault by gangs on a school in Nigeria in a month. Armed attackers have killed a police officer and kidnapped at least 80 students and 5 teachers from a school in the northwestern Nigerian state of Kabe, police residents and teachers reported. The attack took place on the federal government college in the remote town of Baranan Yuri in Kabe State on Thursday. It is the third assault by armed gangs on a school or college in Nigeria in less than a month, which has been attributed by the authorities to bandits seeking ransom payments. Osama Aliyu, a teacher at the school, said the gunmen took more than 80 students, most of them girls. He told Reuters, also news agency, that they killed one of the police officers, broke through gates, and went straight to the students' classes. A spokesman for the police in Kabai State, Nafui Abubakar, said one officer had been shot dead during an exchange of fire between the police and the attackers, and students had also been shot and were receiving medical treatment. Abubakar further said security forces were searching a nearby forest for the abducted students and teachers. Police late on Thursday had not released the number of students missing, and a spokesman for the Kabai state government said that they were conducting a tally of the missing. I talked to Boki, a local resident who went to the school shortly after the gunfire stopped, told Reuters that he saw a scene of panic and confusion as people searched for their children. Heavily armed criminal gangs known locally as bandits have long targeted central and northwestern state, raiding villages, stealing cattle, and kidnapping for ransom. But they have increasingly targeted schools, snatching students or school children and herding them into forests and hideouts to negotiate ransom payments. More than 700 children and students have already been kidnapped by these gangs for ransom since December. Dear viewers, that is all for now with your domestic and international news in brief. Until we are back with some more news, let me remind you with your major headlines that were reviewed in this broadcast. An announcement from the Ministry of Health. Rehabilitated families of Meriteers improving their livelihoods. And on your international, no resolution on S-400 dispute during Biden and Erdogan meeting. Israel launches airstrikes on Gaza for second time since ceasefire, and more. Dear viewers, that is all for now. Until we are back with some more news, stay and enjoy the rest of our programs. But until then, have a nice one.